listeners, to the Cosmic Confluence podcast with your host, Sana. And this is the sacred space where purpose meets presence, modern life dances with timeless wisdom. And today, in this conversation, well, it feels more like a gentle, fresh breath of air, more like an exhale, an invitation to step out of the noise, the chaos out there, and come home to our unique rhythm. Listeners, my guest is Kalen Olson, a sacred beauty guide whose life transformed after the profound loss of her father. Once a public school teacher checking all the right boxes, she found herself yearning, longing for something deeper. And through lived spirituality, somatic wisdom, and then the soulful presence, she rebuilt a life anchored in authenticity and also intention living. And together on this episode, we'll explore how to reclaim your natural rhythm in a world which is constantly demanding for more. More productivity, more noise, more visibility, more chatter, and more achievement. Well, external achievements. So, if you have ever felt disconnected beneath the surface of your successful life, this conversation is for you. So, with that, Callan, welcome to the show, and it is such an honor to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Sana. I'm just delighted to be here.
So Callan, your journey began in deep grief, but then it also paved the way, the journey of exploration and understanding your natural rhythm, getting into that deep presence. So, if it's okay with you, can you walk us through the how that moment of loss became a doorway into your spiritual path?
Yeah. So, up until that point, a few years prior, I had been studying and practicing meditation as it relates to A Course in Miracles. And although I was biting my fingernails less and feeling a bit less anxious, I was wanting deeper transformation that many spiritual paths really allow us to follow and discover and find the riches that lie within. And at that moment, I really had adapted to really the ways of the West, where it's a lot of work hard and try to achieve certain things and climb some sort of ladder that will eventually lead to this place of contentment.
Mhm.
And I was really trying to get there.
Okay.
And what happened was when my dad passed, it was really the first time that I was being invited by something bigger than myself to practice and commit to surrender. I had really relied on my own efforts prior, and I had to sit and grieve and cry a lot. And I hadn't really done that since I was a child.
Mhm.
And being with those moments allowed me to also trust in support, trust in that something bigger than me has me. And, people can find, I think, surrender either because moments in life crack us open, like the one I had, and sometimes it's brought upon by deciding that we're ready for that surrender. My circumstances were more abrupt, and I started noticing that, I wasn't getting my self-worth really in my job anymore. I was allowing love to more support me. And so it was quite tremendous because um I discovered people wanted to support me and help me. And I noticed that I didn't have to work really hard to feel supported, that other people stepped in, um, to offer support, whether that was family or friends or colleagues, to that life really does want to support us. And that allowed me to be with the depths of my grief and start to also find joy at the same point. And so, what really speaks to me about that moment is the power of holding both grief and joy as the culmination for transformation in our lives.
Yeah. I mean, that's fortunately, but or unfortunately, the way it is, because sometimes that immense pain or that grief, it often cracks us open, probably in the most unexpected ways. But then, it also may pave the way for transformation, inside out, inwardly. So, Callan, thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely appreciate your courage, and of course, that itself is so inspiring. So, as you talked about the kind of Western culture, where external achievements or how much you are earning, or your house, car, and all that stuff, they kind of dominate our presence externally. So in a culture that prizes productivity, how can we begin to trust our own pace, when we often may be kind of forced to think that, okay, my friend or my colleague or someone, let's say in a workplace younger to me, is more successful than me. What I am doing here? Why am I not successful? These kind of judgmental questions, they always come. Especially personally speaking, they come within me as well. You know, when it feels slower, quieter, or different than the mainstream. How can we begin to trust our pace?
Absolutely, that's a great question, and I feel that's a question for that many people have, and I've had it myself. And what is important to notice in those moments is really where to locate where is that voice coming from, and to notice oftentimes in my experience that voice is coming at me. It's not coming from me. And oftentimes I notice that that voice is coming at me in my head, and it's not coming from the aliveness inside of my heart. And so just that moment of awareness can begin the invitation of cracking open something new, and to listen to a different voice, the voice of love, the voice of wisdom that perhaps has lied dormant for so long. And so, beyond that opportunity, I think there's also something really cool that we can do in those circumstances, and to start to question our circumstances themselves and notice if we have adopted stories of quote unquote success from other people, and asking if those also really belong to us. And, what does success look like? And the mind or the ego or what have you would tell us that, it's the upward ladder, it's the comparison, and that sometimes those stories are given to us, but they're not really authentic to us and what makes us feel alive. And so, really, the invitation is to start inquiring and asking if I'm in this certain circumstance, perhaps it's in a job or perhaps I'm wanting something, what inviting your inner wisdom and focusing on your heart and asking, is there a lesson here for me? Or is there a unique way I can see my circumstances that invites vitality, invites a perspective of love, and asking your inner wisdom to help you see your circumstances differently.
Mm.
And then that invites the opportunity of your wisdom to unfold and reveal what does bring you joy in your circumstances. And that could be reframing your job, or it could be following your heart's authentic delights.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with what you said. Aligning the work we are doing with what we really value or what we really love to do. Of course, there are factors to be considered. Because sometimes, skeptics or maybe people can interpret this to something like, um, okay, maybe I don't like this. I don't like anyone criticizing me, or because internally I am happy with who I am or what I'm doing. So it can be really, really, kind of misinterpreted. I mean, I would love to know your opinion on this, Care.
Yeah. Can you go more into the misinterpretation piece?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's say, we are definitely discussing about that. We should begin to trust our own pace, our inner peace, our inner wisdom. However, this can be misinterpreted to something, let's say, uh, a thought or maybe a kind of, satisfactory belief that, okay, I am happy with who I am or what I am. I don't want to improve or grow or something like that. So, I mean, I just want to know your opinion, Callan, on this. I mean, can it be misinterpreted, or this is something universally, true in all of circumstances?
Mm. And by true meaning like that we get misperceived by others or that like
Especially,
um
especially by others.
yes, yes. Okay, great.
Mm.
Yes, I think it is common to feel misunderstood by others. And that's really the common journey that an individual goes on when they are living their heart's desires. And we notice in myth and in storytelling across um, spirituality, across philosophical storytelling, that that is part of the hero's journey and it is part of going out on your own, that there is an initiatory phase
Mhm.
of trusting your own inner wisdom and the dissonance perhaps you might be feeling in relationship is indeed part of the journey. And we notice from myth, from these old ancient stories of the hero's journey, that if you continue on the path,
Mhm.
people may misunderstand you and you can ultimately live a life that does feel rewarding to you, but we don't get to have a say about who decides to come along with us and not. And that is part of the difficulty of it, absolutely. But there's still more riches to be gathered, and often that point of wanting recognition from others is really echoing a deeper recognition of love within ourselves.
Makes sense. So, Callan, what does finding your rhythm look like in the everyday moments? I mean, are there any specific tangible practices that helped you reconnect with yourself?
Yeah. When I was starting out trying to find my own inner rhythm, it helped me tune into my body.
Mhm.
And I would ask myself a question, and then I would say, uh huh, or in my body, and my body would feel the yes or it would feel the no when I was trying to gain clarity toward a direction. Because sometimes we have done things that have been passed on to us from our family, from culture, that it's
Mhm.
like we don't even know what the new yes might be. I mean, we know, but like the body helps us affirm that so that we can start unlistening to the mind and those old stories and listen to that new rhythm of authenticity. So that one, in the beginning is just so helpfully profound.
Mhm.
And also too, finding those little pockets of joy that lead to an opening in you is also deeply beautiful. So perhaps maybe you've put away art or you've put away these things that used to light you up as a child, and reconnecting with those pieces, whether it's in dance, but or art and painting. These are all ways for the body to feel joyful. And
Mhm.
so we can notice that rhythm inside of us and then notice where is that rhythm inviting us in other areas of our lives. you can have as joyful of an experience painting as you do doing the dishes. And sometimes that just means lighting a candle, putting on music and dancing and making everything feel more sacred in your life.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And um, we often discuss. I often have so many conversations with guests. Where this is what I have learned. Especially about healing, that um, it may not just be only in the big breakthroughs, but in those baby steps, rituals or rhythms of our daily lives. Consistent um, rituals or practices that we do every day, whether it's doing the dishes or listening to music or singing or drawing, painting, anything. So I absolutely agree with you, Kellen.
Mm.
And like, how did you begin to um, discern between your true self and then the roles or expectations that you were conditioned to perform?
Mm. That's a great question.
Mhm.
Well, I think it begins with a stirring in the heart. And the stirring in the heart is really the invitation for something more. And then because of the stirring in the heart, that's really when the old stories start to come up of how to do it or how to be. And so the stirring in the heart allows the emergence of old stories not to stop us, but to actually be with them in presence and go inward to feel the old stories in the body by bypassing the mind. And it can be helpful to recall old moments and bring that presence of being with those feelings fully in the body to rewrite a new one. And sometimes the feelings come up and there is no story associated. So both opportunities can be fruitful, but it's not necessarily, from my experience, that you have to go in and dig and excavate and try to fix something. It's about tuning into your heart and that new way that wants to open in the heart naturally brings up old moments because they're ready to be discarded in order to move forward into that new way.
True, that is true. And this hits home, especially for those of us who have kind of put up like this mask of survival. I mean, externally it seems like we are doing okay. We are just going on, but internally it's a whole like a whirlwind, an earthquake going internally. And this process of unmasking, it can be both empowering, liberating, yet it can be really terrifying.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you said that piece because it's not really said enough. That's why it's, partly the hero or heroine's journey.
Yep,
Absolutely.
true. That's true. Okay, so before we wrap up this beautiful conversation, Callan, how can someone begin this journey of sacred unfolding, especially if they are feeling right now like they are too far gone, or now there is no light at the end of the tunnel, or they are stuck. I mean, there is no option out there, no other way out there.
Beautiful question. Yeah, we're never too far gone, and your body can hold the deepest grief imaginable. It can hold the deepest your heart can hold everything. Your heart can hold the most amount of pain imaginable. And so going into your heart and going into your body to feel everything is the doorway to start anew and to start again. There's no emotion that you can't feel and survive. And it just starts with deciding I'm going to start today. I'm going to start feeling these emotions today and going inward. And once you start, that's when your journey can really begin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, Callan, I think through conversations like this, personally for me as well, and this has really, really helped me in kind of having, these moments of epiphany or deep realization that probably a year back or 2 years back, this particular thing I was believing or thinking, it may be not the correct one. Maybe I need to look at this particular thing from a different perspective. And I think for our listeners as well, through all, through conversations like this, through uh, you know, beautiful journeys our guests like you, they have gone through or they're going through. I think hearing real pathways from someone like you, it can be so empowering. It can give this feeling of connected, like collectively connected with each other.
Mm, that makes my heart so happy. Thank you, Sana.
Beautiful. So, Karen, if our listeners would like to connect with you further, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my website is kalenolson.com, KALENOLSON. And I also have the same Instagram handle as well. Those are the 2 best ways to connect with me.
Beautiful. I'll have the links to both the channels mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And Karen, thank you so much for
Mm,
helping us understand, reminding us that secret isn't out there, but it's within us. It is in the breath or in the moment or in remembering, just within us. So thank you so much for this conversation.
my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Sana.
And to all my beautiful cosmic listeners, if you are feeling the pull to slow down and come home to yourself, maybe this episode, I hope so, could be your permission to do that. And you don't have to chase the world's version of more. I don't think so. So, your rhythm, your truth, it is enough. This is what I believe. And I hope to all of you listeners that you have some great takeaways from this episode. And if you wish to connect with Callan, just refer to the show notes. I'll have all the links in there for you. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and I hope that your soul always finds its rhythm. Thank you.